Demon Klong, Archer Monologues, Monday, February 13th, 2017. I sigh. Yes, because it's Monday. If being a pedophile is being a person who is, well, as the word is defined, child lover or lover of children, which doesn't necessarily mean, anything to do with sex, but let's just go with flow here. Pedophile, a person who is sexually attracted to a child, which means child, not adolescent, because it's two different classes of human developments. So if you're a pedophile and you don't commit any crimes, then there's no problem, right? Seriously, I mean, as long as you don't rape anybody, you haven't committed a crime of rape. So just being sexually attracted to somebody, regardless of the age. By the way, if pedophile is sexually attracted to children, pedo meaning children, not adolescents, because that would be like what? An adolescentophile. No, actually the word is hebephile, and it's hard to find that in the dictionary nowadays because the mind benders have pretty much tried to do away with that word, even though it still exists in people who are educated. And is there anything wrong with being a hebephile? No. Because that just being something is not doing it. You could be anything. I could be a turnip, but that doesn't mean I'm food for you if you like to eat turnips. Just means what I am, what I am, what I am. What is, what is. Anyhow, words mean what they mean, by the way. And, no amount of fucking around with them and trying to turn them into babble, as the mind benders do, intentionally to confuse people and create hysteria and paranoia and, but that's, that's delusional. And that's a form of insanity. Hysteria is basically a condition that comes under the label or heading of insanity. Look it up. Just look it up in the books, the manuals of, say, psychiatry or psychology. And I don't mean the ones they've got now, because the ones they got now are just full of bullshit. I have a lot of respect for psychology. The study of the mind, or the human behavior that results from the mind. So if you're, it's like the word retarded. I mean, I'm imagining here, I'm not swearing to it, but I'm pretty sure the word retarded has been totally taken out of the manual of psychiatry and psychology. Because apparently nobody's retarded anymore. Oh, that's not politically correct. Oh, that's just offensive. That might hurt someone's sensitivities. What? To diagnose them as a retarded person. You mean like the retard has sensitivities, and we don't want to hurt their feelings by calling them what they are. Like, oh, what's your IQ, fella? 40. Ah, you are definitely retarded. And the IQ of 40 would make you probably an idiot or an imbecile, which are all very legitimate words to describe or diagnose people with that sort of mental capacity. Like if you have an IQ of 10, you're a bloomin' idiot. You're an imbecile, meaning you don't have any intelligence at all. You're just like an IQ. Oh, I got an IQ of 10. It means you probably have about enough intelligence in your brain to, walk, maybe, and make grunting noises. Because you can't grasp the concept of language or English and communicating using legitimate, valid words. And I'm not making fun of people that have that problem. I'm not making fun of people who are retarded. Last thing I would do. Just it's not nice, and I'm just not a bad person like that. I don't do that. Now, if you're acting like an idiot or a moron, then, yeah, sure, I will diagnose you clinically as being retarded, because you are. Like your IQ is like, IQ's like 40. You're retarded. It's a clinical diagnosis, which used to be quite valid before the fucking socialist mindbender collective agenda bastards came in and tried to change everything upside down and backwards and turn the English language into Babel, which they did. It's an ongoing process, so there are still some people that don't talk Babel. And there are still a few people, very few from what I see, that actually understand English. And I've experimented on this many times. I did some studies. I did do some studies. I did. For example, I would ask people, general population, well, not even a question. I would make a statement. I'm not a Christian. And I would, just a statement of fact about myself, because I'm not a Christian. Actually, never was one. Ever. I found some of it interesting back a long time ago, and back in my learning stages. And I decided, let's examine this Christianity thing and see what's going on with that. And I did, and after a few years said, not something I want to be. Because I'm not fucking retarded. You catch my drift. Am I saying Christians are retarded? Not necessarily. Oh, yeah, I am. And that's a clinical diagnosis. Because I'm an expert. Contrary to popular belief that everybody's equal. And that nobody's an expert. Even those that are actually experts. You know what I'm saying? I could give you a rather innocent example. Sometimes I hear people say really stupid things like, everybody's an artist in their own way. No. Because I hold the word art and artist to a very high esteem. I think that being an artist is special. I don't mean special in the sense of like, I'm like an elitist, because that's a different thing. But I think if you're gifted with talents and skills to be an artist and create works of art, you've got something that many people do not have. Because some people, let's face it, some people just can't be artists because they haven't the first clue on how to create art. They might doodle, and they might, take up a hobby at some point in their lives. I'm going to be a painter. I'm going to paint. I'm going to go take lessons from the art teacher down the road there. I'm going to learn how to paint. Then I'm going to be an artist. And, maybe, and maybe not. You might just be some fool that smears paint on a canvas. Like a hobby. Like finger painting. Like for therapy. You're like, I'm in a mental institution and I'm getting finger painting therapy. They let me finger paint for like an hour a day to kind of give me something to do, you know, since my brain doesn't have any capacity to create any kind of activity that might be productive. So let's have some therapy. Let's see if we can get you past this stage of your life where you're like mentally ill or emotionally ill. Therapy. I don't care. If you're finger painting for therapy, you're not an artist. You're just some guy or person taking therapeutic, like a hobby kind of thing, just to have something to do, just to keep your mind occupied, so that you don't like in the case of some psychopath, let's just give him some Thorazine and get him finger paint for a while. So that way, at least while he's finger painting, he's not, actually doing, doing psychopath things like murder people. Let's appease him. Let's keep him distracted from wanting to murder people by letting him paint and dabble in paint and smear it around the canvas with his fingers. Not an artist. Sorry. I suppose we can distinguish between artists who are like, I'm just dabbling, and or a hobby, and professional people like myself, who is a professional. I'm not suggesting I'm an expert artist or an expert on art, but I'm damn near that. I would think after 70 years, not quite that old, let's say 60 years of actually, dabbling in art to the point that I actually became a professional or an expert on certain aspects of the art field. I'm an expert on my art, what I produce, because I know what I produce better than anybody. I'm the number one authority on what my art is. So, keep that all in mind. You follow me? All right. Take a short break. Be back. As I was saying, we got, if pedophile is the person who is sexually attracted to children, that's like under 12, prepubescence, not an adolescent, that's hebephile, as I said, which, by the way, okay, I'll just go with this. Suppose I'm a hebephile. Like about 98, 97, probably about like every freaking person on the planet. Who doesn't love adolescence? I know. Oppressed, suppressed, repressed, mentally ill people, probably. Or eunuchs. Yeah. So, what would it be if you were sexually attracted to adults? An adulterer? No. Wrong word. How about this? Adultophile. I suppose if we actually put words together that were obvious in their meaning, like adult is like a person that's older than an adolescent. You follow me so far? I know you're thinking stuff and you got stuff and you want to say it and you want to express your opinion because you think your opinion is equal to mine, or that maybe you even have this delusion in your head that tells you that I don't know what I'm talking about, or that like you just have to tell me that your opinion, what your opinion is, because for some reason apparently you think I don't know what your opinion is, was, or could be. There's only so many choices here, really. Finite number of possibilities on what you could think in your mind. On that subject. For example, I got to express my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. Not necessarily so. Like, it's my radio show, and I'm doing a monologue, and so therefore your opinion is pretty much irrelevant. And you're not going to express that opinion to me because it's radio, and the concept of radio is I talk, and you're a listener. You're not a talker. That's why they call it monologue, which means one person speaking, which is me, your host and benefactor. So anyway, so you got this concept going, and a pedophile is lover of children, okay, sexually attracted to children. Cool. We know who children are, under 12. For example, in the case of girls, females, they don't have tits, and they don't have hair growing around their vagina, and they don't bleed like once a month, etc. That's just a biological fact, and it's not debatable. Why would you? What would prompt you to debate that, or even disagree with it? It's just a scientific fact. Word means. Now, I know there are other applications of the word child, like, an offspring of two people who had sex and, spit the seed in there, and it got together with an ovum and, developed into a fetus, and then it developed into a baby. Infant. Infink, as Popeye would say. So what would it be? I said adultophile. How about a homophile? Lover of homo being. No. See, that would be confusing, because then you say homosexual. Someone who is sexually attracted to a homosexual. Or the same gender. Oh, by the way, same sex is like more of that babble that I was talking about earlier. Let's make words mean something else, and maybe even mean the opposite of what they actually mean. The mind menders are good at that. Let's call it. Let's just say no means yes, and war means peace. And George Orwell would have been actually correct in his prediction. How did he know? Well, back in 1984, the namesake of the book, I was actually alive, and I said, "Gee, it's 1984. I'm thinking." George was probably pretty close to that one, because 1984 was already obvious to me, already clear that we're heading in that direction of that novel by George Orwell. The world today is kind of Orwellian. Really. Talk about freedom? Yeah, right. Don't be stupid. All right, so the idea is, what would you call a person who is sexually attracted to an adult? I'm sure there's a word. What is the Latin for adult? I don't know. Probably should look that up, huh? I could be informed, learned, know stuff, which is a higher state of being than just being an idiot with no knowledge in your head. All right. So, just being a homophile. All right, we'll go with homophile and say that, okay, a homophile is a person who is sexually attracted to a homosexual. Well, if you're a man or a male and you're sexually attracted to a lesbian, let's say, lesbianophile, you're probably going to have some difficulties, because lesbians, as a rule, might say something like, but you're a guy and I don't really find you attractive sexually, and no, we're not going to be fucking. And that's the way it's going to be, because I don't want to fuck you. You're a guy, and yuck, or whatever the reaction might be. I've actually had sex with a lesbian, and it was pretty much the same as having sex with a straight girl. Actually, Same mechanics involved, same equipment involved, and except that her hearts weren't. What is that? I'm stuttering. Her heart wasn't in it. In fact, her brain was telling her, "I gotta get some money. I gotta get some money. I gotta get some money. I need some crack." But she said out loud to me, "My son needs some shoes, and I need some money to buy him shoes." And playing on my sympathies, like, "Oh, it's terrible your child doesn't have any child," because he was like under 12 and not an adult or adolescent. And that's just too bad. You need some money for shoes. And I'm thinking, not likely, but still. So anyway, I went along with the gag, and I said, "Sure, I'll give you some money, and we'll go back to your place." And we did, and then I won't get into the results or the what happened at that point, because it wasn't ideal, but it had nothing to do with her being a female and me being a man and me sticking my dick in her pussy, which is what we did. I did, and we did it, sort of, kind of, for a while. Anyway, at that point, I was well aware that she was lesbian. I think I was. Maybe not. But at any rate, the point is, it's pussy. Pussy's pussy. I'll have some, and some tits, and she had big ones. Woo. Don't particularly care for big ones, but she did have big ones. And it wasn't really a distraction, but part of it. Anyway, she didn't buy shoes for her son. I'm sorry. She didn't. I know she didn't because, I know she didn't. Okay, I'm speculating. I think what she did was she bought some crack with the money. Pretty sure, I think. Because she headed straight down to the crack street in the local town. The place where they sold crack and stuff. Because the people that lived in that area were big on being dealers and drug sailors and sold pot and crack and shit. Not everybody, because there were some decent old folk down there that had no clue and didn't get involved in that. But that's where she went. Yeah, that's exactly where she went. And so, guess what she did? Took the money, bought some crack. It's pretty obvious. I mean, I knew it was a crack house, or a place where she could buy crack, because it wasn't the first time I'd been near that house. I don't do crack. I've never done crack. Cocaine. Don't think. Ever. I would remember, wouldn't I? Right? Okay. So, lover of children, lover of adolescents, lover of adults. But what I was saying was that if you are sexually attracted if you're sexually attracted to a pretty teenage girl, you're normal. Surprise, surprise. And if you don't rape anybody, then there's no problem. See, anybody can rape somebody. I mean, straight white guys can rape people. And most of the rapes that occur in America are done by straight white guys that have nothing to do with children. So the point is, rape is a crime. It's always been a crime, even though the Vikings seemed to think it was okay. They were barbarians and criminals, duh. But any civilized country and any civilized people would say it's not a good thing to rape somebody. It's just wrong. It's certainly unethical. However, if they're willing, it's not rape. So anyhow, the lover of children, the lover of adolescents, and like I said, that's called hebephile. Like I said, they've tried to get rid of the word, and they just lump everybody under 18 into the terminology of child, which of course is absurd. In fact, it's insane, because that's not what a child is. But they call it a child. In the Title 18 U.S. Code, look at it. Look it up. We're all felons according to that law. that insane, ridiculous, absurd law, which needs to be abolished, and whoever voted for it to make it a law should be executed for treason. Anybody who enforces it should be arrested and done away with in some fashion or another. I mean, exiled or put on an island or locked in a mental institution or something, because they're just evil. Evil, disgusting, insane people. Seriously. But then trying to convince people that are not, it's like a regular person, normal, everyday person you run into, like, pedophile. And they use that word, they don't even know what it means, because it doesn't mean that. It doesn't, he had sex with a 17-year-old. He's a pedophile. Like, that's just absurd. And if that's what you think, you're a fucking idiot. And, being an idiot's okay as long as you don't do idiotic things. Like put people in jail for doing what is perfectly natural, and that's something that they have every right to do by nature's law and any kind of law of logic, of intellect. I mean, come on, let's face it. If you're a man of any age, over the age of 12, like 13 to 110, and you're not sexually attracted to a teenager, there's something wrong with you. I mean, you are the freak. You are the oddball. I won't get into the psychological aspects of the mind and how all that stuff is really twisted around these days. The human mind, in America at least, has been twisted around by the mind benders and manipulated, indoctrinated, conditioned, all that kind of nasty, evil stuff. Which I call a crime, because you're messing with somebody's brain in a bad way. You're causing brain damage. Which is something you did, not just something you thought about. However, my point being what it is, and what I said it was. So, pedophile, hey, you don't rape anybody, who cares? Seriously. The only thing important about any of that is, no matter what, hebephile, pedophile, adultophile, I'll have to look up the word for that. There should be a word for that. I'm pretty sure there is. So we'll just call it adultophile until I come up with the right word for that. Even any of those, if you don't rape anybody, then what you are or what you're who you're attracted to is irrelevant. It's that simple. You don't do any crime as a result of being something, then doesn't matter. I know there are people out there that are going to say, "Oh yeah, but if you're a pedophile, you're going to go and rape a child." No. No. That's just a stupid thing to say. Really. I'd like to say, I was going to say, "Oh, I'm a moronophile. I love moron." No, I don't. But if I know one, and he's a pretty nice fella, and he doesn't hurt anybody, and doesn't do anything bad, and he kind of like just doesn't act like a fucking idiot too much in my presence, then hey, I'll accept him. He is what he is. Not my fault, and I can't do anything about it. It's a result of brain damage. And I'm not a brain surgeon. Not that you can fix that by operating on their brain. So here's the thing. Let's not be doing that anymore, people. Feel like you're going to listen to me. I have found that people who are less than stellar intellectually have a tendency not to listen to me. That is to say, listen to reason. That's reason with a capital R. Reason. Like think reasonably. Be logical, which is what every human being is capable of, I think, if they were not fucking stupid. So, we clear on that? Good. Oh, by the way, if you want to make a comment, if you feel compelled to make a comment, make it a good one, and, type it in there at the bottom where it says comments. I believe I have comments activated. On my YouTube channel, there's a place down there that says comments, and you can make a comment there. And if I don't like it, I will say so. Or I will delete it if I think it is just too stupid for anybody to read. Oh, it's a form of censorship, isn't it? Yeah, probably. But if you're being an asshole about it, then, I just don't want to have to, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to read it. I just don't want to, it's just me, Okay, so maybe I'm just a little bit of a hypocrite because I'm saying that if you say something on my page, on my YouTube channel or on my radio channel, or on my website, which also has has the archives of my radio shows, as well as the radio show itself on a little app there that you can listen to my radio shows on my website, which is very good. I would recommend it. So, hey, it gets tiring telling people the same old thing. I should just write a book and then say, hey, read the book. I say everything I want to say about that subject in the book. So read the book, buy the book first so that I can earn a living. All right, so I'm going to take a short break. So what we have here is talked about words, we talked about the mind benders, socialist collective agenda, the concept of words like hebephile and so on. And I think that's enough for now. Any questions? You're free to ask in the comment section. Meanwhile, I'm D. McClung. This is Archer Monologues. Catch you next time.